Hey, Drakon. How you doing? Hi, Mahali. It's been 3 weeks since I did the last Q&A here because of the holidays. I usually take 2 weeks off for the holidays every year. It's one time I do that during the year. Everybody else takes a break at our agency. In terms of our clients, we take a break at the same time. It's the most appropriate time. I'm doing pretty good. I'm about as rested up as I possibly can be. One could be being in this business, which is a constant on business. Greetings from Bulgaria. I bet it's pretty interesting living in Bulgaria. Someday I hope to visit there. Overall, I call myself a street level economist. And that is because we have access to 50 to 100 ad accounts and the sales related to our clients at any given time. And I get to see how sales are trending on an overall basis. And then that tells me a lot about what's going on with the economy. And December, at least in the US, December 10th, the quantitative easing has started and the quantitative tightening got shut off. And sales are across the board headed up since then. I see it. And so that's good news for everybody, at least you guys that are in the US. But, pretty much the US's economy is connected to everything else elsewhere. It all trickles down from what I've seen. And everything should be getting better and better from here on out. I predict the next couple of years, sales will keep just rallying more and more as we get into this further next business cycle more and more. Whereas the end of the business cycle, October, November, December, was absolutely brutal for a lot of people selling discretionary product from their organic side or repeat customer base. All of it was down. Anyway, just some food for thought, guys. Question number one, Mahali, what do you think about removing call ads? So I try not to have my mind focus on something I can't control or do anything about. And getting rid of call ads there's nothing we can do about it, number one. Number two, I don't typically use call ads. Very, very rarely do I use call ads. Why? Because it usually doesn't work very well. In some instances, like car insurance, stuff like that, we use call ads, because a person doesn't need to go to a website to know that you have the lowest price on car insurance and to call us now. But 99.9% of the time, the right move isn't call ads. So for you guys who were on it, it's actually going to force you to do something that's going to be better, which is to have a good landing page people send people to, and it'll force you to figure out what you need to do that and do it well, and which is good because you're going to get more overall results that way. Sluza, is it just me or are clients just outsourcing the hell out of Google Ad services? How do we even compete with these outsourcing agencies? So I don't know if you're referring to trying to work internally at a company. This business that is the ad management industry is challenging because either the client doesn't have enough money, and because they don't have enough revenue coming in to hire a decent ad person to help them, or they're making so much that they want to bring it in-house because they all think, oh, if I'm paying $5,000 a month now, I can hire an employee. And so you're always trying to hit that sweet spot, taking them from just starting to take off to, starting to head towards the stratosphere. Essentially, that's where your place is, if you will, effectively. And most people are bringing it in-house because they think they can have more control over it. But, Google Ads is something that's so specialized that very rarely companies can afford to hire just a Google Ads person, which is what you kind of basically need to be working on Google Ads as your full-time job to know it well. And therefore they outsource it. So they outsource it till they get usually to about 10 million a year plus in revenue. And then they try to bring it in-house, which I don't agree that that's the best move. They just do that typically because they think they have more control over the situation. And the reality is the person that they're hiring isn't as good as the agency they hired because they didn't pay them enough. Because the top talent in the PPC management space is getting paid mid-six figures. And that's not just me saying it. You could go look up salary surveys, but they think they're going to bring it in-house for, a small fraction of that. And that's going to be the best move. And it's not. Dracon, how's the live optimizations going? Have you got plenty of people from different niches? So I will be frank and admit here that I got a grand total of 5 volunteers so far. So no avalanche. Obviously as we start the live optimizations, people are going to, obviously jump on board, and I'm going to have some system of some sort set up to just decide who we're going to work with. For now, it's going to be everybody who volunteered so far. So yeah, we've already begun the process of setting up the, getting access, and so we can start that up. I appreciate the people who have requested there in the description of our videos, requested the free audit. Essentially is where we got the requests from ultimately. And we're going to, instead of just talking about theory, we're going to be doing actual optimization of the accounts. And to be fair, one last thing I will say about it, as we move forward and there's going to be more volunteers than time for me to review accounts, I'm going to be picking the guys and gals that are willing to put the most work in on their stuff, because there's only so much I can do in a 15-minute session to help you optimize your account. There's a lot I can do, but not everything. A lot of it comes down to building funnels and tracking systems and upgrading tracking systems. And where it's going to really be fun is where I'm going to be able to come in and say, do X, Y, and Z. And then the next week you come back and you did X, Y, and Z, and we get to see the result of it, versus I'm going to click around for 15 minutes here and the results. That's all we can do. Our hands are tied. So anyway, thanks for asking. And I didn't answer your question directly. Yeah, there's different niches, of course. It's not the same niches. And for that matter, I am going to definitely try to have home services, national services, e-commerce. There's going to be a mix so that everybody can say, yep, that apply. There's something in it for them, regardless of what niche they're in. McCallie, Google focuses on intent with quality landing page and content than bid on keywords alone. More and more and more every year, as more people try to get into Google ads, now that basically everybody knows about it and everybody wants it, they're focusing on landing page quality more because it's a differentiator, right? Like if everybody's bidding on the same keyword and everybody has a decent ad, they've got to kind of differentiate who gets the ad spot somehow. And that's the easiest way to differentiate yourself, because there's a lot more you can do with it different than your competitors. So I don't know if that answers your question or whatever directly there, but so Google ads, I don't want to say, certainly Google ads can work in any niche. It's certainly way harder in some niches than others. So if we rank difficulty of getting Google ads to work on a scale of 100 to 1, 100 being the most difficult, there's definitely niches where it's a 99. There's ones where it's a 1. The more competition there is, the harder it basically is, bottom line. Or you're in a niche where there's a huge amount of different types of people that buy, and there's only a small section of the market who actually is serious buyers with money, which that basically is B2B. And then that will heavily differentiate how effective it is. But mainly it's just, to keep it simple, it's about competition. And then it's just, do you have it in you to beat the competition in terms of their setup? If you can, Google will want to run your stuff. It's very, very simple in that regard. In Bulgaria, the ads don't show very rarely. I believe that. Not to say that will be forever, but I think that'll change in the future. Hi, 15. You did not receive the email with the live optimization? Well, if you didn't, I'm going to send it again, so don't be worried about that. Just, I took the last 2 weeks off, as I mentioned at the start of this live, so I'm getting back into swing of things here, trying to get caught up on everything. McCallie, for you, what are the most important scripts that automate the work the most? I try to focus mainly on the quality of the keywords and negatives, at least in the beginning. I don't really use scripts, to be honest. And for that matter, my general advice has been with scripts is to don't lean on them as to fill any gaps in your knowledge. That's not what they're for. You use scripts to automate stuff that you already know works and you're just tired of doing it. And then it just automates that particular process. So when you think about it that way, it changes things at the very least. But also I don't like scripts as well because there's usually rarely a situation in Google Ads where you're going to, for 100% of the time, do X, Y, Z. It'll never change no matter what. There's always, even if it's 1% of the time where you got to be like, well, in this situation, it doesn't work. You want that. You want to be able to make exceptions for whatever strategy you're using because it's not right. And that is because there's just too many variables with it. So if you say, I want, no negative keywords in there that don't have XYZ conversion rate. Well, in some occasions, if you do that, it's going to knock out your impressions too much. Then you got another problem. So it's very hard to just automate what you're doing. And therefore, I don't really rely on much automation myself, unless it's the in-platform automation, like turning on an ad this week and shutting it off next week or something like this. I'm already using making sheets to monitor more after the second month. Where I see a lot of the use of using the sheets is when you have multiple things that you need to look at. And instead of having to wait forever for the Google Ads interface to load, you got this sheet that just already has the data in there. It's pretty useful for that. I don't do that, but I know a lot of the guys that I consult do that. 15, but I did not get a response back. Certainly you will, buddy. So absolutely do not worry. I'm not putting you off. You'll absolutely hear back from me. Think. Hi, Corey. Have you done lead generation for MVA/lawyers personal injury? Are you able to share what works for it? So absolutely, I have several times. It's one of the most competitive spaces that you can be in. The main thing is if you're trying to get into search ads, unless you're working with a huge law firm that's got deep pockets already, I would highly recommend going after sub niches. So forget about the targeting personal injury lawyers, personal injury law firms, stuff like that at the beginning. Go after 18-wheeler accident truck lawyer type of term, and then have a dedicated domain, which is optional, but at least a dedicated ad, dedicated landing page sequence just for that keyword, so that you have an edge on all these big guys that have been doing it way longer than you. Otherwise, you're going to really struggle, and you're better off piling your money into the long tail like that at the beginning. It'll convert better, and you'll have an edge on your competition. Not to say that other stuff doesn't work. It's just going to take longer to get it to work. And it's so ridiculously expensive cost per click that it doesn't make any sense to go after personal injury lawyer as a keyword until you've already got the long tail working already. That would be the main advice I would give to somebody in that space. Not to mention the cases are much bigger when you go after these long tail keywords, truck related terms, which truck is it's not even a secret that people are doing that anymore. But still, in most markets, they're too lazy to write custom ad copy for different keywords like that and custom landing pages and all the rest of it. Just outwork them. I also got into the program, but I have not heard from you yet with further instructions. Yeah, you guys will hear from me this week, so don't worry about that. Mahali, what do you think about niches with more consideration? For example, educational courses, kindergartens. I'm not sure what your question is there exactly. Maybe you can rephrase it. Let me explain myself again. What I did is I received the email. Yeah, again, you'll hear back from me this week. Booked out concrete. Do you use Google Tag Manager and Google Analytics for simple conversions? You're tracking like click to call buttons and thank you page conversions after someone's filling out a form. So here's the yes, if we have to. Your best bet is still tracking a form submission by redirecting people to a thank you page, because otherwise you have bots that are going to click your submission button and you're going to get false conversion data coming through. Thank you pages are like old school and people don't like to use those anymore because they look too like outdated. But at least then, you know, if the code loads there, you actually got a real bona fide form submission itself. That's the main thing I would tell you there. And if you can't, then you do the on button click. You use that as your conversion itself. But if you do that, you know, I would recommend, you know, lead scoring and offline conversion tracking to go along with it, because you're going to get a bunch of shitty bot leads that other way. Okay, Macaulay, for Bulgaria, I emphasize call ads because they don't show much. Standard search ads work best for services and will continue to work perfectly for many years. Actually, that was always the main thing with call ads, right? Like, they didn't even show that much. So on top of they don't get clicked because most people want to see your website before calling, they don't get shown. And they mostly didn't get shown anyway because people preferred the search ads. And I'm almost guarantee that's why Google got rid of the call ads, because people don't prefer them. They want the maximum of what they can get out of the ad space. So they just got rid of them altogether. They realized 99% of people want to click to your website before calling. So why even have them as an option altogether? It just stops people from getting to what they want you to do, which is to have search ads. Booked out concrete again, or use the Google conversion setup in the actual Google Ads UI. And just to put your two comments together here, essentially, you know, thank you pages, you want to track that, but also, you guys always track everything in Google Ads as well as in Google Analytics, and then import your goals from Google Analytics into Google Ads. So you always have a backup for all your conversion goals, because I guarantee you at some point the tracking is going to break, and when it breaks, then you're going to have a huge gap in your data if you don't have any backups. You also need to know when the primary goal is working or not working, because a lot of people think, well, if it shows 0 conversions, I'll know it broke. No, you won't, because a lot of times it'll count at like 60% the rate it's supposed to, or 70 or 80. And how are you going to possibly know that's going on without a backup goal to compare your primary goal to? 15th. So for the first month, my ROAS was 10%, second 22%, third 47.8, and now I am on my fourth month, and my actual ROAS, it's 93.39%. Do you think I'm on track? Yeah, that increase is very good. Yeah, people look at that and they're like, well, it's only 93%, but yeah, I mean, if you just wait 3 more months to 5 more months, you're solid. So you'd be absolutely crazy to throw that away. The problem is you may be in a negative ROI still in your business, and it's taking money out of your bank account to fuel the system. And if that's the case, lower the daily budget down to what you can afford to lose and cover with your other income sources, and then just give it a little extra time, because it'll need some extra time, and scale at the pace in which your company can afford to finance the rest of the breaking in of your campaign. And then it'll obviously be worth it once it's working. Doubling your ROAS every month, that's actually astronomical. That's fantastic. Usually you're only going to get 20, 30, 40%, something like that. So it's really good, actually. Mahali, in Bulgaria, we have a serious problem since January 1st. We switched to another official currency, euro. Almost all the new accounts were being created all out of Bulgaria. Wake up with the new account. Oh, that's wonderful. that's what you get when you're dealing with a monopoly, I guess, is Google just is going to do what saves them. Google right now seems to not care if they're pissing off their users to save money, whether that's AI-based customer service, whether that's switching people to invoicing. Now you got people, they're switching everybody to euros, that where they don't need to make their systems a little bit more simple. There were fewer people with new accounts since September or October. Even new accounts with 3 to 4 months of experience are not yet a good story. Before, per 10 euro quality lead, now 50 to 60 euro for quality lead. That's the name of the game with Google, right? I've seen this over and over and over again in the last 20 years dealing with Google in one way or another. They're always going to start out whatever they have to get people hooked, like they're drug dealer, and they're giving you the first hit for free. They're going to get you hooked on whatever it is with a great ROI, and then they're going to slowly turn up the heat on the water that the frog is in other words, until when they got you reliant on that traffic source, and then they're going to raise the cost on it a ton to the point where it doesn't even make money anymore, but people are so used and hooked on it that they'll keep doing it anyway. You got to expect anything that's new that works well is eventually not going to work nearly as well. That's how they always get new products rolled out. Otherwise, nobody would try it at the beginning. Nobody would talk about it. It sells, the advertises itself when they give you a ridiculous ROI at the beginning. Then when everybody knows what it is, that's when they charge full price for whatever they're doing. Think, grow, successful. Have you worked with people who do lead generation as a service, basically selling leads to companies? Can you recommend any verticals? I do know one person doing that. It isn't the panacea that it seems like. And I've even fell for this myself before, where I was like, oh man, working with clients is so much of a headache. Why don't I just sell them leads? That's so much easier. Screw this having to explain how good my service is. I'll just sell them leads. The reality is, though, you sell people leads, people that want to buy leads instead of setting up their own ad account, guess what? They also don't know how to sell. So you're going to send them leads and they're going to be like, your leads suck. When really the leads, there's no problem with it. They just don't have a really refined, dialed in sales process because they're just a person who doesn't focus on details. And then you end up with a different type of problem. Now, what people have done that makes a lot of sense still and will continue in the future is selling hot transfers. So instead of selling a lead per se, you get yourself a call center and you answer the call yourself. You create a list of pre-qualifying questions for the user that makes them verify that they're a good quality lead, and B, they have money, and C, they're ready to buy now. Then you say, okay, hang on a second. Let me get you with an account specialist. Put them on hold. You call your client. The client secretary answers. You say, I got somebody that's ready to book an appointment. Okay, transfer them over. And you sell for each one of these transfers. And of course, they're more money. But that takes out the element of the client screwing it up, which you probably say, how do they screw it? Trust me, they screw it up. They don't answer the phone. The person answering the phone is like, hello, can I help you? Instead of answering the phone. It all matters. So, and that model does actually work ultimately. So if you're going to do it that way and charge more. And that's how you can go ahead doing it, if you will. It's still not easy to sell hot transfers because people want the business for cheaper than what it costs to produce it. And still isn't easy for that. And then if you go to the logical conclusion of, well, why don't I just take revenue share then? Why don't I just give them the call? I know they're going to book probably, or book at a high enough rate where it's reasonable. And then people won't pay you. They'll do the work. They'll say, I'm doing all the work. Why should I have to pay this idiot anything? And then you got another problem that way. So unless you want to be chiseled, or unless you want to call every single customer or person you've hot transferred after you've hot transferred them to verify that person closed or didn't close. And by the way, is doing the proper service, because if you're doing hot transfers, you're going to have your own landing page, your own website. And what these guys will do, because it's not their neck on the line, they'll hose the person in terms of how they handle them. That person will leave you a bad review on your site. So you not only have to make sure that they close, and so that you can ask for the commission if they didn't send it already, that you'll get your commission. But then on top of it, you got to make sure the person isn't hosing your people that you're transferring to them, so that you're not going to get a bunch of bad reviews on your site that you've set up. So there's a lot of other ways to do selling leads and can be effective. But you got to know all these other things going in. And for that matter, because of all these other gotchas or flies in the ointment, it actually becomes more admin than what you think, and kind of like kills the allure of avoiding hiring somebody, or, charging a monthly flat fee to help somebody with their ads. Because at the end of the day, you have to manage all this other stuff, and then it's a big headache anyway, if you will. And the one person that I do know that sells the leads and then has to do the verification of the leads and all this other stuff, they said, to me, it doesn't make sense, but they said it's not as scalable as you think on top of it. Finding people to accurately audit the calls, and it's not as easy to scale as you would think. Ultimately, for me, if you're going to get into selling leads, what I would rather do is just set up my own website and do drop shipping. And then I own the entire website. If I'm going to go ahead and have to treat you like you're a little baby, here's the lead, here's the guy, just put him through. If I'm going to do it all that, I'm going to get the full value from the whole, what I just did. I'm going to get the customer. I'm going to have somebody, get the product. I'm going to drop ship it. And then I'm just going to build my own company up, because at least then I'm building equity in something I can eventually sell. Hey, Bob, Happy New Year to you. McCallies, for example, this new account is loaded with a bad agency, has a lot of junk leads, and only recommends it regardless of the campaign. Apart from this new account, is there a chance to fix it? So almost every single time when I have a new account, all I'm trying to do is find quick wins with their current setup, negative keywords, stuff like that. But you can only do so much with it, because 98% of agencies that set up campaigns set them up like absolute garbage, because the agency doesn't sell their services for enough. Therefore, they're going to hire crappy people to do it that only have so much time to do it. They're going to do it really poorly. And because of this, it's really hard. It's like, the foundation isn't good enough. So you have to set up a new campaign and funnel to really do something monumental with what they got. And then you set that up on the side and you build it up slowly, which will make sure that the current campaigns don't stop working while you're kind of building up the new thing, if you will. But generally speaking, it's easier just to build something brand new than it is to fix something that's really badly set up. And at the very least, you're probably only going to get a little bit of results out of it, even if you tried to fix the bad setup. So this is in car diagnostics. Yeah, I mean, it depends on how badly it's set up. If it's set up mostly good, I'm going to try. I don't want to do any more work having to set up new campaigns if I don't have to. You got to know when you're just not getting what you want out of what you got there. Is the results just too bad? And is it just too hard to work on that? If it is, then you are stuck with creating a new campaign set. The guy has a monopoly in the niche, and now the competition can easily surpass him because Google is his main channel. The tendency, guys, is if you got a good thing going on, that people just slow down. They're like, oh, I don't have to run it anymore. I'm making plenty of money. The time to invest in your marketing is when you already are killing it or crushing it. You don't know how many times, like even with the recession that came we had late last year. People calling, panicking. I need to get something going this week. I don't have any jobs right now. Well, you kind of already, you screwed yourself. You should have been looking into fixing, into getting a second, third, fourth, fifth lead source going when times were good and you had money for that Corvette or to go to that strip club or whatever. But people don't, the tendency is when times are good, they think it's always going to be good. And when times are bad, they think they're going to go out of business. That's just, I guess, human nature. But when times are good, you got to be able to rape it for everything you can get out of it and build up your fortress. And when it's bad, you just got to keep your head above water. And because, and had enough of a head start when times are good, that when times are bad, you're going to survive it. Ultimately, that's business in a nutshell. And it ties in with your marketing directly. The agency did not connect the old GA4 with quality leads audience, and the story was lost. And now whatever is connected is bad. I mean, you're just going to, if you're going to manage clients' ads, you're going to scratch your head and say, how is it that people are paying for this garbage? I am telling you, 90% of this entire market is an absolute joke. People, I guess they read courses online about how you can make money starting an agency. They don't have any experience and they sell their services for cheap. I respect the hustle. You want to make money, that's fine. But you're going to have to deal with all kinds of messed up accounts. People spending tens of thousands of dollars a month with accounts that are horrible. I see it all the time. The tendency is I value the ads, but I don't value how the ads are set up. And if you tell somebody you're spending 20 grand a month, but I need 20 grand a month to set up something that's going to work incredibly well, they'll be like, no, I'm not doing that. That's ridiculous. Well, the 20,000 they're spending could be going down the toilet. They don't care because they think because the ad is running, there's value there. But I don't see the tangible benefit of someone working on the ad. Therefore, I don't care to pay for it. That's what the general user thinks. And because of that, they underpay their people that work on the ads. Therefore, it's almost always subpar, ultimately. I can tell you, if you guys just want to know, and this isn't me because I have an agency. I don't care if you ever hire me. This is for you guys. There's more. The amount of money you make with Google Ads is more related to how you set it up than how much money you spend. You can spend $1 million freaking a month, but if your setup is not to the minimum level it takes to be competitive in your market, it's for nothing. And it's way harder to have a good setup that beats your competition than you likely think, ultimately. And that's the case if you're not making a profit. It's just not set up good enough. And the tendency is to think anybody can do it. And certainly it can't be that way. If there's 20 guys in a market fighting it out for the market share, there's going to be one or two that are going to crush it and everybody else is not going to make much. And you're either going to figure out how to get the guy that you need or learn it yourself to be in that top 10%, or you're just always going to perpetually struggle. If it were to where everybody could do it with minimal effort, there would be no value to it. But then the upside is millions when you get and figure out how to have the top 10% strategy. I personally like the fact that it's hard because it keeps out all the people that want instant results and don't want to try out of the game. I can easily beat them. They're lazy. I'm not. Do you think it's okay to guarantee results to clients before you deliver them, or do you have to have iron balls, as we say in Bulgaria, and try to prove it at all costs? I started my agency around guaranteeing results. I don't recommend everybody to do that unless you're very knowledgeable, ultimately. But for me, it's simple. It simplifies the sales process. Instead of talking about clicks and negative keywords and all this bullshit, just tell me what result you need, and I'll tell you if I can guarantee it or not. And if I do get it for you, and because nobody else is guaranteeing you anything, by the way, I want to get a shitload of money once it's guaranteed. And then either you value the fact that I will guarantee the result and pay a lot, or you won't pay a lot and you want to go to somebody who's not guaranteed. I'll leave you the choice to decide. It simplifies the sales process immensely. You just got to be quite good to be able to do it. For that matter, if I was operating in Bulgaria, I'm going to guarantee the results, though, because it's extremely easy. The competition is ridiculously less than at least in the US, where it's actually really hard to do that. So not to downplay or speak badly against Bulgaria, but the reality is outside the US, it's at least half as competitive. And in a country like Bulgaria, it's going to be like 10% as competitive as it is in the US. You just got to have basic knowledge and you can crush everybody in most markets. UTM campaign. Could you please further explain the purpose of GA4 in a server-side tracking system? My business uses Go High Level as the site builder, site host, and CRM. Google and Meta receive posts directly from GHL. So generally, you could set up server-side tracking there. I don't want to go into the specifics here too much. For the most part, like I was saying before, you want to set up your tracking in Google Analytics and Google Ads both, so you have redundancy. But to give you a bullet point list of server-side, specifically on GA4 and through Google Ads, and tracking on Google Go High Level, I couldn't give you a really refined list on the spot here. And posting the data from Go High Level directly. I don't have the level of technical knowledge to give you 100% concrete answer. Sorry. Think grow successful. What about comparison websites? Could that be a scalable business compared to lead gen? Basically being an affiliate with some of the largest players in a certain space. It's very, very competitive. The guys doing that really know what the hell they're doing. Not to mention you're battling then the ad networks. They don't like affiliates, and they know stuff that has comparison stuff on there is probably an affiliate. You're going to struggle to get your ads approved and stay approved. The reason why I'm not an affiliate is because I know what the affiliates go through. They're constantly battling the ad systems, getting their ads approved. Stuff that works, will it stay approved? I don't particularly myself want to deal with that. I would rather do drop shipping instead than doing that. At least then I know Google's not going to shut me down. I'm building a long-term asset that I can eventually sell and just cash out and be done with it. And go that route versus this affiliate stuff. Now, not to say you can't make a ton of money with affiliates, because you can. Just letting you know, it's very hit or miss. It's either you're going to make a ton or nothing, because your ads can be shut off at any time. I mean, literally, could be making $5,000 a day, and then you wake up in the morning and zero. It's all zeroed out. So, I mean, can you justify what you're making when times are good to not have income for a while when times are bad? Mahali, I now have a client who spends nearly 6 figures a year. For Bulgaria, that's a lot of money on advertising. He drives people to an e-com site, and there's no sales tracking, and he doesn't even see the problem. Again, people don't value how their ads are set up. They see value in the ad itself, but not how it's set up, which is ridiculous, because there's no point in advertising if it's not set up right. Not to mention the difference, by the way, just to flat out tell you, like even just for an average e-commerce site, if you want to compare some 1 year or 2 year associate level person strategy that's going to set up an e-commerce PPC campaign in the way that I would set it up, having done it for 20 years, I'm going to get 5 times the amount of revenue he is in the same market, same niche, same site. And with that big of a difference, why does it make any sense to not spend your $20,000 a month instead of and spending $1,000 a month on the PPC guy and pay $3,000 a month to the PPC guy and get the 5x result? It doesn't make any sense. I think people just assume that it can't. They tell themselves it can't possibly be. So therefore, in their head, they've justified not taking it seriously, to the point where people don't do tracking. They don't do server-side tracking. They don't use SCAG campaigns. They don't work on creating landing pages for e-commerce sites. They don't do anything, basically. They just look at, I guess, what everybody else in their space is doing, which is not much, And then they assume, okay, well, because nobody else is doing nothing, I don't have to do nothing, which is the most weak way you could think about it. You got to be thinking about whatever your competition's doing, they're barely trying, and you got to do better than all those people, because if you don't, it's going to be 20 years of hard labor in your business before you can retire. Why do you want to go through that? If you set up your stuff right, you can be done in 5 to 10 years and just bypass all the bullshit. I mean, the easiest thing to improve in your business is going to be the ads, because there's so much of an alpha difference between a good and a bad strategy. Why do you want to labor in your business for years and years and years when you could just figure out ads, do it the correct way, like the really correct way, not the way your competitors are doing it, and then just cash out ultimately, because you've got the best setup in the market. Google sees it. They want to run the hell out of it, and you cash out. So anyway, yeah, it's absolutely insane that people don't even set up their tracking right, but I see it all the time. In fact, e-commerce, it's different, but 70% of advertisers' accounts I look at, they don't even have their tracking set up right, when the whole algorithm that runs the ads run off of tracking data, and they don't even have their tracking set up right. For e-commerce, I'd say 70% have it set up right, but still it's way too much. 15, if you need a few details to recommend the best next steps for optimizing the account, tell me what to share and I'll paste it here. Ultimately, I'll let you know through email what we need to do for that live optimization stuff. Bob, a local contractor, say a plumber in a small market, should pay how much a month on pay-per-click split between Google and Bing? So the general rule of thumb is whatever you're spending on Google, you should be spending between 10 and 20% of that on Bing, sometimes more depending on how well it's working, which is why the tracking is so important to set up, because there's some situations you're going to want to spend 50% on Bing because it's crushing it. That happens all the time in our agency, mainly because there's no competition there most of the time in most markets, because people are like, Bing, who the hell uses Bing? Well, about 20% of the market uses Bing. When there's no competition there, you clean the hell up. That's who uses Bing. So in the plumbing space, there'll probably be some competition, but depending on your locality, maybe not. Maybe you'll be able to spend all your money on Bing, potentially. It depends on how many people in your market, how many people are there. But the general rule of thumb is like 20%. McCallie, I'm not the biggest professional, but there's not much competition. In a few hours of work, I can beat them. It's hard to get people to invest at least 2 to 3 months to see good results. Yeah, and that's the other thing, right? We live in a society now where people want instant gratification on everything. So you could tell somebody you can make their ads twice as good, but because it's not going to happen in a day, they're not interested somehow anymore. The system runs off of an algorithm now, and they don't understand that it's not a switch. It's not like where the ad's there. Oh, it didn't work right away. Oh, it doesn't work. No, the ad's there, and we got to spend 90 days for the algorithm to get adjusted to the new ad for us to even halfway know if it worked or not. That's the new paradigm that we have now. And it's hard explaining that to people. Trust me. I have that issue in my own firm all the time. Even if somebody sees that I have 10,000 followers on this YouTube channel and I'm explaining it to them, the tendency is to not want to understand it. People want to believe if they just knew that magic switch, magic ad, boom, everything changes in their life. That's what they want to happen inherently. Who doesn't want that? I mean, the reality is, though, it doesn't work like that. Sometimes if you have in a market with no competition, it can work pretty damn fast, like weeks. But that's not the general thing in any competitive market. That's generally not how it goes. So you just got to really, what I do that I mentioned on other lives already here is I give somebody an 8-quarter projection and I break it down by quarter. And I say, yeah, it's going to take 90 days for it to work. But here, quarter 2, it should be this, quarter 3. You got to look at the big picture. Otherwise, all this stuff seems overwhelming and not worth it. If you realize you put the work in and then 2 years from now, you're making 50 grand a month. It's worth it to spend a few grand a month now to get the engine going. But people just see the money it costs to get the engine going now, and they don't want to wait for those results. They just don't. The person who waits the longest for the results is usually the winner in most markets, because most people don't want to wait. They don't want to put the effort in and see the result later. You just got to be the person who's out crazy enough to wait the longest. JRS, what's up? I just was just about to email you back. I'm in junk removal. Okay, cool. Look forward to speaking with you. Macaulay, so I think I can bring them good results. You can bring someone good results with Google Ads without even being an expert in your type of market. You just got to have think logically, not idealistically, and actually put the effort in. And there should be no problem at all. In fact, anybody can make money in being a Google Ads manager anywhere if they just try. Like I said earlier, there's so few people trying to actually do a good job. It's honestly because clients are not loyal to the agencies. They start with you and then they switch, and people just sort of like, well, they're going to switch anyway. Why don't I just take all their money and use it to find the next client? And the whole market's shifted that way. 90% of the market operates that way. And that's the way that nobody trusts anybody as a result of that. You got to, if you actually are just an upstanding person, eventually, the results will speak for itself. And the people that, trust me, everybody wants results. It's just hard finding a person who can deliver results. And once people realize you're the one person in that market who's honest and can deliver results, you're not going to have any problems getting clients. It's going to be tough to build up the reputation, but it's worth it. Think, grow, successful. How would you suggest approaching dropshipping? Any recommended places? Can you source products to dropship? The main thing I can tell you is where most people go wrong is they look for dropshipping programs. Wrong. Don't dropship what everybody else is already dropshipping. There's too much competition. Go to somebody and ask them if you can dropship their stuff so that you're the only one selling it. If you do that, it's almost impossible not to make money. And the more expensive of whatever you sell is, the easier it is to make money, generally speaking. Whereas, and the opposite is true. My suggestion is to go find something that's 4 figures and up in price and drop ship that, because A, it'll be the easiest to find people to actually drop ship for you. B, you have a differentiator. People think they're going to sell a $3 item on their site. If what they do is they go to Amazon and they're going to buy it from them the last second. So that's a dumb idea. Whereas the $4,000 printer, they're going to call you first because they have a question, and because Amazon doesn't offer technical sales support on that printer. You talk to them, you build some rapport with them. Now you've got that person wanting to buy from you, and you specifically, not run off to Amazon to buy, even though they technically could. But because you built that rapport with them, they'll probably just buy from you. Ideally, whatever you sell isn't also available on Amazon, though, if you can anyway, or at least not easily findable on Amazon. So, I mean, if you find somebody selling $8,000 printers and you ask them, hey, will you drop ship? All I want is a 10% of the money of the product. You send it to me and we're good. And it's not that hard to find somebody to do it. Then you put that printer on your website. As long as it costs less than $800 in advertising cost to sell it, you make money every sale. And it's not as complicated as you would think, ultimately. It's also, by the way, easier to do drop shipping with expensive items, because when you buy an $8,000 printer, if it takes 5 days to get to you versus 3, people aren't as upset. But if they buy a $30 toaster and it's not there in 2 days, they're pissed. So you literally can just talk to the person on the phone, take their credit card, put the order through, call up your vendor, put the order through manually with them, and you're done. And it makes sense because you made $500 on the sale versus, 20 cents or whatever. By the 15. By the way, do you suggest me starting Bing? Is there shopping campaigns for that? Yeah, there absolutely is shopping campaigns on Bing. Yes, I would do that. And it works probably better than any other campaign that you can run there. For whatever reason, though, shopping is hard to scale on Bing, whereas it's really easy to scale on Google. It's not easy to scale on Bing. It's just as profitable as Google, but it doesn't scale as nearly as much for whatever reason. Think, grow, successful. When using Bing, do you recommend doing anything beyond search, like YouTube with Google? It depends on the product. Rarely. We had a mold removal product recently that we were promoting and did really well on the display network there itself. I think you're asking like Google Display or YouTube. Of course, you want to always run YouTube ads. You want to run demand gen campaigns ads, if not anything other than targeting people who have recently searched for your product on Google recently, because they're all in-market buyers. You can do remarketing, all that stuff. Pretty much every company I work with, we're going to target people who are in-market buyers on demand gen, on YouTube, on Bing, on Google, as much as we possibly can. That's how you make big money. They start to become in market for whatever you're selling, and then you keep marketing to them until they buy, if you will. And then if it is like the mold removal product, you can run a display campaign for that and blast it out there pretty well, as long as you can get cheap traffic, because more than 1% of the population needs that product. So, it's like more so about like, where can you get quality, cheap traffic at? That's why I initially started there. But in some markets, you can make $10 million a year in sales revenue and $1 million a year in profit just off of Google search and shopping ads. That's it. Some markets, you rely on those two things and you're going to make $300,000 a year and a $30,000 a year profit. Congratulations, you're making what you can make at Walmart, having a job there. So, but there's potential in making way, way more than that if you can figure out display advertising to add in. And then you're forced to learn it and forced to do it. So it depends on how big your market is. Frankly, on an overall basis, it's easier to be in a market where you can just scale search and shopping ads, because you don't have to be an ad genius. That said, if you just figure out how to do YouTube ads, you can make a pile of money. It takes a hell of a lot more effort to learn how that works, how to make a good video ad script, all that stuff. And I do it every time because I already know how to do it. The average Joe that runs a plumbing shop doesn't know how to make a video ad commercial for YouTube and make it profitable. They don't have that skill, and the amount of money you have to pay somebody who does have that skill is so much that they're just going to shy away from it, because that's a unique skill. It's almost like back in the day, they had infomercials on TV, and almost everybody who ran an infomercial lost money, because it's really hard to run a video ad essentially in the form of an infomercial and make money at it. Only the true expert marketers could do that ultimately. It's the same thing here with the YouTube ad. For somebody who knows how to run a video ad, they can make shitloads of money at it. Somebody who doesn't know, it's worthless to them. It doesn't matter if the advertising was free, they're not really going to make anything anyway. So it just comes down to whether or not you want to put the effort into becoming a video marketer that knows the elements of a successful video ad to capture someone's attention and turn it into leads or sales. Bob, how do you keep customers from leaving you? Are you talking about the agency world? Because I can more so talk about that versus like, how do you keep plumbing customers to leave you? If you're talking about the agency, maybe you'll clarify, but how to get our clients to not leave. really, it's kind of unavoidable most of the time, because I'll be honest about it. You set up the ads, you make it look easy. It doesn't matter if they're making money or not. People's inclination is, I hate paying this guy XYZ amount per month. I'm going to do it myself and save all that money. I can get a Ferrari payment for that. I don't want to pay him anymore. And you can't avoid it. It doesn't matter. The work quality was good. So that's just going to happen, particularly when you're just managing ads versus like doing all their ads, because it's hard to switch marketing agencies. It's easy to switch PPC agencies. Beyond that, ultimately you have to be able to just deliver results and communicate well with them. But over the years, I just learned a lot of people are short-sighted about it. They're not going to stay with you because they should. They stay with you because they think they haven't got all the knowledge from you yet. And then once they sucked all the knowledge out of your head, or presumably they've done that, then their inclination is, I can get somebody cheaper to do this. Which switch? That I know that's hard to believe. This is how the market works, and in a nutshell overall. Of course, your clients will leave if they don't get results, but even when you do get the results, it's always usually a temporary arrangement. Some clients will stick around 10 plus years because we got them results and they don't want to rock the boat, but most people aren't like that. So all you can do is just do the best job you can, communicate with them the best way you can. And then, if they leave after a couple, 2-3 years, when people think that somebody's whispered something in their ear that's more exciting, and then they leave, that's the way that it is. And that's the business. Uh, 15. So we're at the top of the hour here. Actually, I got to cut this off. Plumbers, by the way. For plumbers, by the way, the best way I saw a plumber keep their customers is they have a loyalty program. Because frankly, if your toilet clogs, you're not going to remember the last plumber you hired, right? But if you have a loyalty program where they get like a chance to win something every month, and you engaged with them, they will remember you, and might have a thing on the refrigerator so they could check to see if they won that month or whatever. That's the type of way that you have to think about keeping a plumbing customer, so that when they need the service again, that they're going to go with you. I don't have time to go into the details on that necessarily here, and I do appreciate, guys, all the questions as usual. I will be here next week as I usually am, at the same time, same place. And I hope you're here so I have plenty of questions to answer again. So anyway, good luck with your campaigns. I hope this was helpful to you. Main thing is stick with it. Even if you're discouraged, no matter what, stick with it. It will pay off if you stick with it long enough. Light is always at the end of the tunnel for the person who does more and is going to put more work into it. Just got to beat your competitors and being relentless in what you're doing. Take it easy. See you in the next one.